You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
I'm now joined in studio by Barry Ennis of Ennis Promotions and Brian Byrne of Luminate Event Management. Good morning, lads.
Hi, Karl. How are you?
Good morning, Karl. Thanks for having us in.
Now, lads, the reason I've asked you to come in this morning and have a chat to me is because you've joined forces recently to bring the Spiegeltent Festival to Wexford. Now, Brian, I know it was your idea to start with, so you might give me a bit of background in terms of how the idea originated.
Sure, Karl. I was having a look at venues for some of the companies that I have been working with over the last few years, and in the early part of this year, around February, March, I came across the Spiegeltent on the website. I couldn't do anything about it at the time because I was heading to work on the Volvo Ocean Race, but I parked it in my mind to see whether it was something that we could maybe bring to Wexford at some point in the future. When I finished up on the Volvo Ocean Race, myself and Barry met up. I went through the concept that I had to see whether it was something that we could maybe have on the Quayfront for the Fringe Festival at the time of the opera. Even though the time was very tight, we felt that we could really give it a go and that the venue itself would really lend itself to it. So we put together a plan, and here we are.
So what's so unique about this Spiegeltent?
It's a very unusual venue. They originated in Holland and Belgium back in the 1920s. The first one was built in 1920. Our one that's on the way into us was made in 1929. They moved around from each of the towns in around Holland and Belgium as essentially like a movable entertainment venue, fit on the back of a truck, and there's 18 of them left in the world now, and ours is called the Salon Perdu.
Barry, can people expect a wow factor at this event?
Well, the Spiegeltent is very much all about the wow factor, Karl, and in terms of the cost to bring something like this in, it certainly would want to have that wow factor. There's a huge amount of marquees around the country at the minute, and that's fine, that's all good and well, but there's a couple of things you're not going to wow anybody anymore with them. So what we have is we've created this magical area from the minute you walk in through our 5,000 square foot winter garden while you're en route to the Spiegeltent. So when you step in, you're coming to a winter garden that's dressed with festoon lights, shrubs. The whole thing has been dressed as a winter garden by a local supplier. Then you'll walk all the way down into the Spiegeltent itself, and when you get into the Spiegeltent, you're met with ornate flooring, your stained glass windows, if you can imagine, red and gold velvet roof. It's stunning building.
Barry, I know you were responsible for booking the acts at those particular gigs. Can you tell me how you decided on those particular acts over the course of the week-long festival?
Yeah, well, I was involved. I booked the majority of the acts into it, and what we did was we put a programme in place that we weren't drawing from the same well all the time. You couldn't just go down the line of only comedy or only contemporary music. You also had to look at things to suit different age groups, different genres. We're realistic that we're not the biggest county in the country. So what we had to do was we had to make sure that we were catering for everybody, and that we were catering at a high level that we could draw people from Sound County Dublin, from the likes of Waterford and everything else. And we have achieved that. So we have things ranging from a kids camp, where it's a spooky magical camp, and it's a science camp along with an arts one. So you've got that, to things like Phil Cates, who is a world-renowned violin player. He's doing an afternoon show. We have Vladimir, his classical twist. Again, an excellent violin player with a modern twist on the instrument. And then we have things like Pat Short in the comedy section. We have Bell X1, world-renowned act, coming into play in the contemporary side. So it's very much, if you can imagine, Karl, there is nobody that will not be catered for.
Brian, the festival itself starts on the 24th of October and finishes on the 3rd of November. That coincides quite well with the Opera Festival. Was that a deliberate move?
Yes, Karl, we felt that it would be the right time to have the festival for a number of reasons. One is that there's certainly a festival feel in the town at that time. I think it's a very magical time in Wexford, and I think we feel that there is an appetite for the people of Wexford and of the county to be at gigs, not necessarily at the opera because it's a very niche area, but there is an appetite for people to see other things at the time of the festival. Also, we obviously do have the opera goers, we have the international and also the national people that would be in town at the time. They normally come for a 3-day stay. They won't always be at the opera every minute of every day, so they're always in town to see other things in the Fringe and now also in our own festival. And they also would have, companions with them that maybe are not as into the opera as the person that'll be going. And we feel that also gives us a market to sell our tickets to them.
Barry, can you see this becoming an annual event in Wexford?
Yeah, very much so. We have our business plan is based on a 5-year plan, and in real terms, you would never put the amount of effort into something like this if you felt it was only going to run for 1 year. Year one in something like this, the chances of turning a profit are nil. So it's very much about two things: the love of the arts, the love of what we're doing, but as well as that, of course, there's a business element to it, and that involves a 5-year plan. That in itself, combined with everything else, we can see this whole thing running for the foreseeable future, and we think it's a huge part of developing the Fringe Festival in Wexford. A lot of Fringe festivals throughout the world are equally as big as main festivals and so on. So what we need to do is we need to develop a very strong Fringe, and this will bring it from strength to strength and give it a focal point for the years to come.
I can imagine that there would be a huge cost in developing a concept like this and running the festival. How easy was it to get support from businesses in relation to sponsorship locally?
Well, Karl, we have been very, very lucky. We've actually been extremely well supported by the businesses of Wexford. We had a target. When we started off, the first thing we did was we had a look at the money end of it to see whether we could make it work or not. We had a target for the sponsorship, and luckily we've exceeded that by about 10 or 11% now. So that's really given us a great amount of encouragement that we are on the right kind of a track with this, and also it helps us with our risk because it reduces what we have to make from the likes of the public sources of money, which has been harder to come by. So even in such a hard time for the businesses of Wexford, they've really, really been good to us and have been very helpful in every way, financially and in other ways.
And in that area of support, how have you found support from the likes of the local authorities and the retailers group and all of the other government agencies across the county?
Yes, from the get-go, the local authorities have been extremely good to us. Obviously, financially, I don't think anybody would be unaware that all of those kind of groups have their issues with their budgets because of the climate that we're in. But at the same time, they've helped us in every other way that they can. The services on the quay have all been made available to us. There's been no issue with them from the get-go in helping us for access on the quay, for any kind of red tape that was there that had to be got over. It was all done with the minimum of fuss. They've been very supportive from even, like a moral end of it, that we often get, calls every day to see how we're getting on, how things are going for us. Is there anything that we can do to help? Which is a very open attitude for them to have. And we certainly wouldn't be here now if they hadn't have really taken that attitude. And that goes for the retailers groups as well. It goes for the local authorities, the fire service with the Gardaí. Everybody has been extremely good to us.
Barry, what level of attendance are you expecting at this festival, and how many are you expecting to come from outside the county?
Karl, in direct ticket sales, we're expecting between 10 and 12,000 sales, of which we would envisage 4,000 of those coming from outside the county. It will bring more people to Wexford than just the people who are buying tickets on the day. For example, on the night of the opening of our festival, we have the Spiegeltent Festival Parade, which we're bringing down along the quay and then on to the new promenade and bringing its way down all the way to the Spiegeltent. So that in itself will draw additional people. The spectacle of the tent and our 5,000 square foot winter garden is going to draw a lot of attention. So directly and indirectly, we're hoping that there will be an extra activity of up to 20,000 people.
What has been the response from retailers and hotels across the county in respect to this event?
It's been fantastic. Again, just to reiterate what Brian was saying earlier, not only did we get a lot of moral help from them and people made it very simple for us to go ahead and do this thing, they actually are pushing right behind us. We've got great support from the hotels. They've come on board as main sponsors. So we have got huge support, and all the way it's been a huge help to us as well, in that there's times when you're putting all of this effort in that you need the morale boost as well, and they've certainly done that, and they have put their money where their mouth is too. The Arts Centre have also been very supportive of us. They're acting as our box office at the minute. So they've taken a very, very broad-minded approach to this in terms of, they are another venue, but instead of standing back and seeing us as a threat, they're looking at a situation where they can benefit from it and they can help us. So when you look at art centres, and they should all be striving for the good of the art, and they certainly have come to the fore.
So predominantly this festival is all about entertainment, but I know there's a business aspect to it as well. Tell me a little bit about that, Brian.
Yes, Karl, we have a business event on the 1st of November. It's on in the afternoon. It's aimed at a very niche area. It's aimed at people that are in business for only a short period of time, be it 6 months, a few years. It's really for that kind of a profile of business. We'll have a number of speakers who will give a very positive kind of message to the people there, that even though we're in an extremely hard time, we have been in this situation before in the past. We'll be in it again. It's not going to last forever, and everybody will get out of it. And we've put together a list of half a dozen people that have a message for the people that will be at this business event, that will give them an awful lot of encouragement, and that they will really get a benefit from hearing what these guys have to say. Some of the speakers, we've Aidan Quigley, who has been doing an exceptional job down in Loftus Hall. We've got Paul McNeve, lost his legs in a fire aged 20. He went on to run a €50 million business. He's a helicopter pilot, extremely interesting guy. We've got Kevin Whelan, who's the head of the Notre Dame University in Ireland. We've got Bill Kelly from Kelly's Resort Hotel, Fred Carson out of Dundee, and a number of other speakers. We've got the CEO of Connect Ireland also, who will be able to give us an idea of what's happening with the gathering next year, and so on and so forth. So it's a not-for-profit event, but it's to help the young businesses of Wexford, who are the people that we all need to succeed for the future of the town and of the country.
Well, guys, I'd like to thank you both for coming in to speak to us this morning, and I wish you every success with the Wexford Spiegeltent Festival.
You're listening to South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Think Wexford Insurances for your business insurance.